Hello to my earth signs Capricorn, Taurus and Virgo. Welcome to the Virgo new moon. You'll find the timestamps for your rising signs listed below. Hello Capricorn Rising, welcome to your reading for the Virgo new moon happening very soon, this Tuesday the 3rd of September at 11:56 a.m. if you're in the southern hemisphere with me. Hello, hi, how are you? I was absent again. I need to get like an attendance folder or something. All the apologies I've been making over the last months for not being here. However, here I am. The last full moon in Aquarius was hectic, and I'm sure I don't need to tell you how possibly brittle it may have shown up for you personally, or if you kept your eyes open and looked around in the common popular culture, there was a lot of misinformation, in fact error, that was made very, very public and held onto, and a refusal to apologize or hold accountability for that error. What it feels like to me at this time, Capricorn Rising, and this new moon actually feels quite helpful for you, but it does feel like a long game. So I'm going to explain as to why. The day that these are being released, hopefully if I get them out to schedule, Pluto is coming back for you for 2.5 months. Yeah, nearly 3 months. Now, you and I have been discussing Pluto for quite some time. Pluto is the lord of the underworld, the harbinger of the precious metals and jewels beneath the earth's crust, the one that reveals things that have been hidden for the longest time, the one that tends to destroy everything in its path in order to allow new growth to take shape. Now, Pluto itself has been in Capricorn since the year 2008 or 9, long time ago, 2008, I believe. And this is the last dance of Pluto in Capricorn. So in our lifetime, we will never quite experience Pluto in Capricorn ever again. So, as a Capricorn rising, as the essence of Capricorn fills up your first house of yourself, your soul's rising intention, what can you tell us about metamorphosis, and what knowledge can you share with us and others about the necessity to change? This is the essence of what's going on at this time. Come November, the 20th of November of this year, that's curtains for Pluto in Capricorn. So I want to congratulate you for going the distance. And I also want you to step up to the plate and start sharing with people. Listen, keep your ears open for who might need some guidance in terms of disintegration of self and rebirth of self, because this is powerful. Now, obviously, on the global setting, the global stage, Capricorn can represent financial institutions and also pre-existing structures of power. So from September until the 20th of November, we're going to have the presence of Pluto in Capricorn, that which speaks to pre-existing power structures. So across the globe, we are looking, and we're already feeling the grip of those pre-existing power structures. Hold on, white knuckle it. We'll see what happens. Whatever happens, you know the grit and commitment it takes to rising up again after some sort of obliteration. I don't give you this information to frighten you and say it's going to happen again. I don't believe that it will. It's the anaretic degree, which is the final degree of Capricorn. So this is the lesson culminated. Go back over your life. Go back to times when you felt a metamorphosis, or you felt that the rug was pulled up from under you. Think about all the different times where you lived off the smell of an oily rag. Think about all the different times where you made it work, no matter what. They're lessons that other people need from you, Capricorn Rising, in whatever way that you feel able to give them. You don't have to start a channel, but you do need to start keeping your ears open. Excuse me. Now, on the same day that Pluto enters into Capricorn once more, today, hopefully, the planet Uranus is also stationing retrograde. Now, this happens every year, but when it happens, we do talk about it. And this sort of brewing revolution or revolt that we can sort of feel is going to also make space for review and for drafting and for edits. Now, on your birth chart, Capricorn Rising Taurus rules the 5th house, which is your creative self-expression. So if what I've been saying to you about offer advice, provide help, provide guidance, if that's been working for you and you're thinking, oh, I've got this project or I've got this thing I've been thinking about, putting together an offering, great. Use Uranus retrograde to edit. Now also back to the moon, back to this new moon in Virgo. The sun and the moon come together at 11 degrees of Virgo, and that will be in your 9th house, and that will be in a space where you get to think about your adventures, you get to think about your spirituality, and you get to think about the world of academia and publishing. And a new moon is always a seed. Now I've got the 9 of Pentacles here staring at me. This is the card that speaks to that second wedge of Virgo. This is someone who is taking the moment to feel the warmth of the sun on their skin. They're taking the moment to look around at everything that they've cultivated and created from the natural world. And they are rich in this moment. They are wealthy in this moment because their gratitude is overflowing. Now, this seed, I suspect, might be a bit of a long game. Now, everyone's got a different rhythm to manifestation, and that's cool. The universe isn't a cash machine, remember? But if we really do commit to different parts of our life and give time for things to grow, then they often do. Next year, or this year actually, leading into next year, the eclipses will be taking place in Pisces and then in Virgo and in Pisces again. So we're sort of changing a story as well. The instability of eclipses can sometimes be frightening, but looking at your birth chart and looking at what will be shed, necessary shedding or releasing in your 9th house of your spirituality, of your access to adventure, and also your access to academia and to publishing, I wonder what shedding might need to occur. I wonder what seed will start to blossom if you take this moment and just think about it. Remember that Uranus is taking a back seat, so there's no urgency. Well, it might feel like an urgency, but you're going to resist that urgency. You're going to edit, you're going to review, you're going to work with that part of the work, which has the gardening gloves on and the dirt up to your elbows. Not the glamorous part yet. It's coming, but not yet. Pluto's very personal to me. I'm a Capricorn sun. You know this very, very well by now. And Pluto is the reason that I committed to my own education as far as astrology is concerned. It was a powerful, powerful, pivotal moment in my life when the planet Pluto transited over my Capricorn sun in its languid, long, agonizing, relentless pace. As Pluto moved so slowly, there was a retrograde and then a station direct and a retrograde again. So it was 3 passes over a year and a bit. And thinking about the sun and its ability to represent our personality or our identity, and thinking about the crisis of identity and the rebirth of identity that I went through. It's why I always labor on about Pluto, because it's a marker point for me in my astrological education. And it was the moment where the mirror was shown back to me. As Chani Nicholas says, the universe is but a mirror. It's a reflection of what we might be going through, and it gives this moment context. And boy, did it. So if you can identify with that as a Capricorn rising, Pluto at some stage or other made a direct transit with your rising placement, with your eastern horizon, the most personal part of your chart. It's powerful to think about it in those terms. And it's also very powerful to think about what you now might have to offer or to publish or to share with other people in terms of what you've learned about rebirth. Steady as you go. You're good at the juggling act. I understand that. Capricorn Rising. This is one of your cards as well, Two of Pentacles. It teaches us about counterbalance, counterweight. It teaches us about the flow state too. I was speaking about this in terms of, I was listening to a basketball player describe the flow state, and they were like, everything just goes in slow motion when you're on the court. Like the training, the rehearsal, the practice, all kind of falls away in that second, and you just remember exactly what to do, and there's no urgency in that flow. So hopefully you can take some of that with you into whatever stressful areas you might be stepping into, Capricorn Rising, or new adventures. If the idea of, finding your voice is overwhelming for you, I'm not going to say don't do it. I'm going to say find the flow state. Because what your individual experience, the brightness of you, the way that you perceive the world around you, and the topics that interest you, everyone's got a different way of doing things, don't they? Every single person, every astrologer has a different way of doing it. Every tarot reader has a different way of doing it. Every artist has a different way of doing it. Every writer, we've all got our own perspective, our own, this is as far as we can. This is what we've got to work with, So comparisons don't really need to happen, and this is where this might be coming into it. But you don't compare yourself or your output to anybody else, because what does unite you with others is your Capricornness, your reliability, your grit, your determination, your work ethic. And at a time such as this, when there are so many folks that are craving guidance, it's now time for you to start preparing for that. I'm very, very proud of you, Capricorn Rising. What a master stroke. What a great lot of incredibly hard work. So go with it. And I also saying to another friend of mine recently, we were talking about the past, and we were talking about moments in time when we wish we just had have opened our eyes a little wider and just relaxed a little bit more so that we could have enjoyed it at the time rather than in retrospect. And that's okay too. I understand as a Capricorn, you've got your eye on forward movement and the ascent. Every now and again, it helps to just look behind you. Take good care, Capricorn Rising. Thank you very much for your patience and for being here with me. If you are still here with me, please put a gold medal in the comments section. That would be incredible. If you'd like to support my work, you can head to buymeacoffee.com/umaruby. There's an option to subscribe for $10 a month, and there's also a tip jar there. If you'd like to contribute financially, I'd be very grateful. If you'd like me to draw your birth chart and to read it to you, you can head to my website, umaruby.com, and you can make an appointment with me. If it's your first time, pick the spirit reading. If I have read for you before and you'd like to speak about the current astrology and how it might be affecting your birth chart, you can pick a truth, growth, love, magic, or femme reading. Think about those topics, think about those titles. Maybe there's something that you'd like to know about the current moment and how it's relating to your astrology. Take good care, and I'll be with you with plenty of time to speak about the next lunation, which includes a partial lunar eclipse in Pisces. So there's lots to chat about. Feel the weight of Pluto as a comrade rather than an oppressor at this time, Capricorn Rising, because you've done so much work to get here. Don't be scared now. Hello, Taurus Rising. Welcome to your reading for the Virgo new moon, happening very soon, this Tuesday, the 3rd of September at 11:56 a.m. if you're in the Southern Hemisphere with me. Hello. Hi, we're back. How are you doing? I know that August was fraught. I know from my experience and from my observations that August was rife with miscommunication and with a exacerbation insofar as the way that people were speaking over one another and not listening to offers that they had made grave errors. Now, oftentimes when Mercury is retrograde, there's the opportunity for things to go awry. There's an opportunity for miscommunication to occur. This particular Mercury retrograde that started in Virgo and went back into Leo, it felt infernal. It felt really, really obvious, and maybe not so much in the way of technology going awry, although maybe for you that was something that you noticed, that emails weren't going through, or there was plans that were made and then forgotten, or something like that. I'm talking about real errors in factual information. And there was an incredible moment globally that a fight that perhaps had been reserved to a particular subculture was brought out into the popular media, and a grave mistake was made and has still not been apologized for. This old guard of Saturn and the new guard of Jupiter, and Jupiter in Gemini being incredibly bombastic and desperate, and the clash of those proverbial titans that occurred at the last full moon in Aquarius really got things shaking for so many of us. So I hope that you're okay, Taurus Rising, and I hope that we can use this new moon when the sun and the moon are together at 11 degrees of Virgo, where there'll be no moon in the sky for us to look at, but we'll be able to actually work with whatever's left here, the residue of energy on planet Earth. We'll be able to start hopefully manifesting something worthwhile. Now, moving forward into next year, this new moon, it's almost like it's not a now or never kind of scenario, but I would like you to use it wisely, because the dragon is moving into Virgo and into Pisces. So we're going to be experiencing eclipses in Pisces and in Virgo starting this year into next year. So no eclipses in Virgo this year. They're reserved for next year. But this moment in your 5th house, the way you creatively express yourself, in the way that you have access to pleasure, in the way that you find the joy in life. Maybe you're an artist and there's something about inspiration that we can work with at this new moon. You might write to yourself, or hope, or write to the muses. Give me something that I can work with. Give me something sturdy that's going to see me through the next months. It almost feels like a long game project, Taurus Rising. Now, in tandem with that, we're also working with the last dance of Pluto in Capricorn. Now, I've been sort of leaning on this topic for nearly 2 years now, this idea of the last dance of Pluto, the lord of the underworld, the one that destroys in order to create, the one that reveals that which is hidden, in the sign Capricorn, which as a group can represent financial institutions, and it can also represent pre-existing structures of power. Now, you don't have to be an astrologer to twig that this is the moment that we're living through at present. The popular growing language amongst people that have been working so hard for so long, that have been unable to ignore the gross injustice across the globe that privilege sits upon. This moment from the 2nd of September, so I believe today, if I get these out on my schedule, until the 20th of November. It's a short amount of time for a last dance, and Pluto won't move any further than 29 degrees of Capricorn, but still, the pivotal final degree, the anaretic degree, I believe it's called in astrology. It feels like over the next months, the lessons that we have been awake to and aware to will start to really show themselves. Perhaps all of those hairline fractures that we've been talking about are about to give way. Now, before we start to revolt, I will remind you that on the same day that Pluto moves into Capricorn, the planet Uranus in Taurus will station retrograde. And this happens every year. It's not unusual. But when it happens, we talk about it. And in this moment, to talk about it, it might be not to hold your breath. I would really like everyone to be incredibly alert and mindful of what they're rebelling and revolting against, and how their rebellion, their revolution, is taking shape. I want you to honor yourself, Taurus Rising. I want you to honor the core of you. I want you to be feeling that hopefully for the next months or so, you've got some support. Your guiding light is Venus. Never forget that, Taurus Rising. Venus, the one that brings us love and brings us pleasure, brings us creativity, brings us beauty into our lives. Venus will be in Libra, and Libra is another sign that Venus does so well in. So as far as your talisman in the sky, know that Venus is in good condition moving forward. Venus will be, where's my note? The day after this new moon, on Thursday the 5th of September, Venus will meet up with the dragon's tail in Libra. Now, that isn't to say that the eclipse in Libra next month is going to be an easy one. We don't know. That's what eclipses do. But there will be commemorations across the planet of October of last year. And there will be, hopefully, with Venus in company, some opportunity to salve some pain. I hope that your conversations and your activations and your interactions with other people, Taurus Rising, include something healing, include some empathy. It's what we need now. And obviously, sensitive people have an obligation not to fall to pieces and turn to liquid through their empathy. But there's something so remarkably brave about being kind to one another at this time. Our addiction to the black mirror, the screens, have proven that they have their limits. And that isn't to say that the beauty can't be found through those screens. I've made some incredible friends all over the planet because of this way of interacting. This exchange, this heart sharing, needs to exist in your lived life too. Hopefully at this new moon in Virgo, there's opportunity for you to be amongst people that remind you of your 5th house, your creative expression, your access to pleasure, your perception, your outlook on beauty. And Mercury will join up into Virgo again on the 9th of September. So things that were started on the 26th of July, perhaps, because we know that Virgo's brilliant in Virgo, but there may have been a necessary stopgap before we continue with this information, with these ideas. I hope that it's the muse, Taurus Rising. I really do. I hope that there's something really creative and luscious that is taking up a lot of your energy and a lot of your time thinking about or looking towards. And hopefully when Virgo makes its way back to, Mercury makes its way back to Virgo, I should say, you'll feel that motion again. You'll feel the flow. You'll feel the rhythm. Let's get you some tarot. These little suckers. Whew. Oh, one other thing I should mention, possibly, is that, so Saturday the 7th of September, sorry about all the different dates, but write it down. On Saturday the 7th of September, Mercury is going to square Uranus in your first house. So Mercury being in Leo at that point, and there's been a bit of a crossover. There's been a couple of squares that we've had to contend with between Uranus and Mercury. The first one happened on the 22nd of July, and the second one happened on the 18th of August. So think about crossed wires. Think about what I was talking about earlier around this bombastic, self-righteous condemnation that was incorrect and was continually incorrect. And through that error, the issue or the abuse, which is happening behind the scenes if you're not savvy to it, but it was brought to the very surface. So to relate that to your own life, think about, let's go with this, think about the battle with the muses. I've been fighting that one for a while now. I wish I hadn't. It's been working, though, with like anything, and probably a good analogy is just the act of drawing. If you've been out of practice for a while, Taurus Rising, pick up tools, start. Doesn't matter what you create first. It will probably be rubbish. But the body remembers. And then you pick up everything, all of your history, all of the training that you have done in the past comes back and is like, hello, oh, that's right. We know what to do now. And then you find that flow state again. I say all of this because the square between your first house, your sense of self, and your fifth house of your creative expression may have been a bit jarring. So maybe not. If not, again, I encourage you to use this new moon to think big. And if that feels foreboding for you, then start small. I hope that makes sense. Yes. What it looks to me, Taurus Rising, is it's that thing that happens, you know, how sometimes you sort of, I give you the reading and then I look at the tarot cards and the tarot cards are what I already said. Don't set yourself on fire. I love passionate people. I love the fire signs. I love the fire element. I love what it does to us. I love the respect that we need to give it as well, because it's a silent little thing. But more fuel, it becomes ferocious. And so when we think about the fire element, we often think about our magic or our passion, and coming from a place that looked really clear and looked really honest, coming from this place where the truth was the only weapon. It's sort of like, well, this, I know this to be true. That's only one sword to fight with, and it feels like you've been using the fire you've been trying to conjure in order to develop more strategy or more weaponry. And unfortunately, when we use our magic as a weapon, it can come back to us. And in fact, it always comes back to us. It's one thing to really remember, and I'm sure that you've been told this before in some capacity, but it's very, very true. We use our words wisely, don't we? Words are spells. And our spells come back to us times 3. So make sure whatever you're saying, whatever you're putting out there, whatever magic you're working with, it's coming from clarity and it's coming from love. The Temperance Angel speaks to the alchemy between our magic and our emotions, our feelings. And these cards are telling me that some feeling is highly required for you at this time, Taurus Rising. The sensitive parts of you, the gentle parts of you, the caring, loving parts of you are required in order to continue making your magic, because the alternative is going to blow up and it's going to burn up. I'll say it again, Taurus Rising, words are spells. So use them wisely. That's your reading. Thank you so much for being here with me, Taurus Rising, and for your patience again. I know that I have been unreliable over the last months in terms of my offerings here. That is due to change. I just need to recommit to my schedule and recommit to my belief in my abilities. So thank you for your company, thank you for being here with me, and thank you very much for your support. If you are still here with me, please put a gold medal in the comments. Thank you very much. A gold medal for all of us, the champions that continue to show up with kindness and with love brimming from our hearts. If you would like to support my work, you can head to buymeacoffee.com/UmaRuby and you can subscribe, or you can put some money in the tip jar. And if you'd like to meet me over Zoom and have me draw your birth chart, you can make your appointment at my website, umaruby.com. Pick the spirit reading if I've never met you before. That's it from me. I will be with you in good time and good preparation for the next lunation, for we're stepping into a partial lunar eclipse in Pisces. And so it's going to be important for us, for you, in terms of your sense of kinship and your humanitarian spirit. So I'll be with you with plenty of time to prepare for that one. Thank you again for your company, Taurus Rising. It's very much appreciated, and I love you very, very much. Hello Virgo Rising, welcome to your reading for the Virgo new moon happening very soon, this Tuesday, the 3rd of September at 11:56 a.m. if you're in the Southern Hemisphere with me. Here we are, we're back together. How are you? How has everything been this August just gone? It was incredibly confusing. It was rife with misunderstandings, I'd imagine, and there was some quite profound moments of real pressure. Some of that pressure, personally, I found very difficult to deal with if I was resisting it. But once I listened to myself and really felt what I was feeling in my body and in my heart, and when all of the staccato communications started to arrive like clockwork, like astrological clockwork, I realized that I had to take a night to myself, a really deep, important night. So the Aquarius full moon that I missed out on giving you a reading for really did its work in my life, in the world around us. Now, as a Virgo rising, you rely on the planet Mercury to help guide you through. And so for most of August, Mercury has been going backwards from our perspective. Mercury was retrograde. But from the 28th of this month, of August, I should say, they have stationed direct and they're moving back into Virgo. So having retraced the steps in Leo, Mercury is moving ahead now, and just in time for this new moon in Virgo. Now, what do we know about a new moon? We know that there will be no visible moon in the sky, and so it almost feels like some kind of reprieve. It feels like an evening where we get to regroup, where we get to strategize. Now, because of Virgo and all of its beautiful earth qualities, this one feels, and I know I say it often, every new moon can be a potential seed, can be an evening that we can ask for things. This one feels especially potent because as we move into 2025, we are going to be feeling the presence of the dragon's head and the dragon's tail. Eclipses will be happening in Pisces and in Virgo, the shift. And so when the dragon's tail is co-present in the sign, there is some necessary shedding. So thinking about your birth chart, Virgo rising, and thinking about the imminent presence of the dragon's tail, thinking about the throttling to release the grip, perhaps. This new moon is in the clear. There's no eclipse occurring at this time. And so thinking about that seed, proverbial, I want you to really go deep with your soul, with your spirit. What do you want from this life, Virgo rising? And how have you changed over the last years? And what are you morphing into? What is the new incarnation of your being? Looking at the tarot and looking at where the sun and the moon at 11 degrees are meeting up, we talk about the 9 of Pentacles. And I really like this for all of our beautiful discussions on potential. This character here is enjoying the fruits of their labor. This character here is taking a moment to breathe, taking a moment to feel the sun on their skin and looking around at the natural wealth that they have tended to over a long period of time. Put a pin in it. I see this for you, Virgo rising. I really do. After a lot of hard work, perhaps over the next 12 to 18 months, there's going to be a lot that you're going to need to reassess about who you are and indeed who you spend your time with. So this new moon on the Tuesday the 3rd, I want you to really get out your diary if that's something that you respond to. If you write about your inner workings, really make a commitment to yourself at this new moon. Think about everything that has been showing up as far as miscommunication, as far as error, as far as the people that are unwilling to let go of the truth of the matter. Some folks, and it really happened at this last full moon, that brittle square, that contention that we spoke about in readings gone by between Jupiter and Saturn, that sort of changing of the guard, the clash of the titans, that kind of feeling. The old world is struggling and really, really not willing to let go of supremacy. And there were some factual errors that were really present and brought into the popular lexicon, brought into the public media, fights that have been being fought for years and years and years, subculturally. But this error was huge and was really put upon, what am I trying to say? It was insulting and hurtful and embarrassing for a multitude of reasons. And now, as I believe Mercury has station direct, there's a bit of an ein Minuten bitter. That's false. What you are purporting is false. It's actually not fact. It's not the case. And so hopefully there will be appropriate reparations made for that incredible error of judgment, but also backward thinking. Looking at the rest of the astrology, the day I think that I'll be releasing these is quite pivotal to Virgo rising. So what's going to happen is that Pluto, the harbinger of destruction and disintegration, the one that burns everything in its path to make way for the new, and the one who also reveals things that have been buried for the longest time, Pluto, the lord of the underworld. They're going to be making their final swan song in Capricorn for 2 months. So I believe from the 2nd of September until about the 20th of November, we're going to have the presence of Pluto reminding us what we have learned about the structures of power that exist and have pre-existed for a very long time, about the gross injustice of some of these structures, and also the tenacity that we all must carry with us to reconfigure some of these structures too. I think that there's a lot of language in the air, a lot of chaos theory that is rolling around. And of course, to get change and development and progress to happen, there has to be a little bit of chaos. There has to be a feeling of uncomfortableness. I've been really singing my own mantra lately. I could do with being a little bit more uncomfortable, and not to judge myself in any capacity, but I feel that it's necessary. There's some tests that it feels like some of us are preparing for, as far as strengthening, conditioning, and really standing firm in what it is that we do believe to be right. And that's a difficult thing sometimes to do when the pain of the empathy can be so laborious and so heavy. But at this point in my life, I've witnessed far too many good, kind, sensitive, gentle, courageous people be disrespected. And I think we all deserve a gold medal in some capacity. So moving forward from this moment, Virgo rising, I want you to reflect on what's led you to this point, perhaps what's led you to thinking about tarot and thinking about your astrology as a point of help, like as a form of relief. And I'd like for you to steel yourself as we move forward. On the same day that Pluto enters into Capricorn once more, the planet Uranus will also station retrograde, and that happens every year, and it happens for a long time. But whenever it happens, we do make mention of it. So that revolution, that revolt, that rebellion that we can sort of definitely feel in popular culture, but also maybe in terms of your access to faith as well. Thinking about your long-standing spiritual practices, or thinking about your education on those topics and what has been shifting for you. There's a lot of very wise astrologers that I respect very much that have been very clear with the idea that this work is not a diagnosis. Alice Sparkly-Cat is one of my favourite astrologers. Great writing, really succinct, and they said something to that effect quite recently. So beautiful. Astrology is not a diagnosis. We're not doomed to an ill-fitting, bad, unfortunate chart. We do this work to give ourselves 15 minutes to reflect on what we're going through and find the pain points too. Find the points in our body, in our heart where it hurts. Come Monday the 9th of September, Mercury will have re-entered Virgo, and this is great for you, Virgo rising. Hopefully this is going to iron out some of the miscommunication that has been occurring for the last 3 or so weeks. The first time that this year that Mercury entered into Virgo was Friday the 26th of July. If that's any help to you, perhaps you can think about maybe like a burst of, or a story to tell, or news that it came in for you around Friday the 26th of July that maybe now that everything's clear, it's time to start talking about. And woofed. Okay. So I want to talk about the quality of time. This is the Lover's card, by the way, if you can see that. Jupiter right now in Gemini has been really doing its work, and it's important to remember that Jupiter is not comfortable in Gemini at all. They'd much prefer to be in Sagittarius or in Pisces. And so this exertion, this over communicative kind of feeling, that's why a lot of us have sort of taken a step back from social media that we've come to rely on for our networking and our friendships. But there's been quite a few people that I know that have just been had to set everything down, and that's we can look to the technology as it being akin to the casino, the gambling technology that keeps one activated and keeps one obsessed and locked in to the screen. But there's also been so many misunderstandings or opinions purported as fact, or even just wrong information being circulated. And that really takes its toll, especially when one finds themselves on the receiving end of popular critique. And it really does make us feel trapped, and it makes us feel caged. And the advice of the Five of Swords is to drop the chop and just get out of there, not participate in the argument. And hopefully that's been something that you've been able to do while Mercury has been so, along with Jupiter, Mercury has also been unreliable. So this is what I'm kind of feeling. A lot of us have been spectators of just the gross misinformation and the gross sort of righteousness from people that just don't know when to stop sounding off. Think it over, Virgo rising. Think about what it is that you know, and from your perspective, how you see the current moment. And also think about the possibility that you are also not immune to the current way that a lot of us ingest information. Have a think about that, and have a think about what conversations that you've been engaging in or not engaging in at this time, because it's become far too dangerous, far too sharp. And hopefully moving forward into this moment with the moon, you'll be able to feel something that feels sturdy and just. I mean, that's the word that we really kind of want to, sink into. Is it just? Is this justified? The eclipses this year are on the way, and there will be a final eclipse in Libra too, to contend with, something that might feel or remind us of moments that have felt so unjustified, or when justice wasn't done. So we'll prepare for that. But as I said before, the eclipses of next year will include you and your sense of being, your sense of self. So I want you to take this moment with the moon in this sort of clearing after the wind. That's probably just one more thing I wanted to say. It's been so windy here in Australia this last week. And when I think of the air element and I think of violent wind, I see that echoing the sparring match of ideology as well. And I've registered how annoyed I get when it's windy too. So that's just one thing to think about. Remember, the swords are air, and air is our mind. It's the way that we think. So try and find a clearing, a gully that you can duck under as the wind whistles above your head. Thank you very much for your patience and for being here with me, Virgo Rising. I hope that that was valuable. I'm going to be with you with plenty of time in the lead up to the next lunation, which is a partial eclipse in Pisces. So this is your 7th house. There may be things that we need to prepare for, but let's also not use this as a... let's never use this work as a omen, because it's ineffective for our well-being and our mental clarity. It's so helpful when we're feeling a certain way and then we just so happen to realize and come upon the idea of hectic astrology. But I don't want this to limit anyone, including myself. If you'd like to support my work, you can head to buymeacoffee.com/umaruby and you can subscribe for $10 a month. And there's also a tip jar there if you'd like to contribute financially to help me in my work. That would be, I'd be so grateful for that. If you'd like to meet me finally, and for me to draw your birth chart, head to my website, umaruby.com, and we can make an appointment and I'll read your birth chart to you on Zoom. If you'd like a face-to-face reading with me, you can head to the Muses of Mystery website. I'm offering tarot readings there for the next months. That's it from me. Thank you very much, Virgo Rising. Stay safe. If you're here at the very, very end, I'd like for you to put in a gold medal in the comments, please. Like the pentacles, a little talisman of encouragement is most appropriate in difficult times. Thank you so much.